Judge Kim made her entrance, and everyone immediately rose to their feet. "We are convened for the appeal of the Kong custody case," she stated. "Barrister Park, you are representing Miss Okonkwo." "Indeed, Your Honor," Barrister Park responded, "and I possess a substantial amount of new evidence to present." Mrs. Kang's primary attorney interjected. "Your Honor, this is an act of harassment. The case has already been decided." "The case was adjudicated under false pretenses," Barrister Park smoothly countered, "and I intend to furnish proof of that." Barrister Park commanded attention as he stood. "Your Honor, I have evidence indicating that Miss Okonkwo was systematically undermined for over 10 years. He activated a remote and documents appeared on the screen. In 2018, Miss Okonkwo resided in Manchester for 6 months. During this period, she was accommodated in a domestic violence shelter, a fact we were unable to substantiate at the time due to shelters safeguarding their residents' identities. However, we can now establish something else." With another click, an image appeared. This individual, David Chen, was the perpetrator of the abuse. And these are bank transfers from a Kong family shell company to Mr. Chen, totaling $20,000, dated March 2018. A collective gasp swept through the courtroom, and Mrs. Kang's complexion paled. "Your Honor, this is circumstantial," her lawyer protested. "A mere coincidence," Barrister Park queried with a cold smile. "Allow me to illustrate further coincidences." More documents flashed on the screen. Each time Miss Okonkwo relocated, anonymous complaints were lodged with her landlords. For every position she secured, her employers received calls containing false allegations. All of these incidents trace back to this individual, Park's son, a private investigator. And these are his payment records from Mrs. Kang, extending back to 2014. He then turned to address Mrs. Kang directly. "You have pursued this woman for 11 years, meticulously dismantling her life, creating the very instability you subsequently exploited to seize her child." A palpable silence descended upon the courtroom. Judge Kim leaned forward. "Mrs. And I realized arranged marriages were never going to make me happy. Helping you helped me understand that I deserve real love." Sujin continued. "Not marriages built on family strategy." "I'm so happy for you," Ada said sincerely. "There's something else." Sujin's face grew serious. "I went to see Mrs. Kang yesterday." "You what?" Ada was shocked. "I needed closure. I needed to tell her what she did to me, to you, to June." Sujin's voice was steady. "She didn't apologize. But I saw her, Ada. She's broken, completely broken." "Good," Ara said from the doorway, surprising everyone. "She was mean." Ara chastised gently. "It's okay, Mama. I'm allowed to feel angry at grandmother." Ara's voice was mature beyond her years. "But I also feel sad for her. She lost everything because she couldn't love people the right way." The adults were silent, struck by the child's wisdom. 2 weeks later, Ada received a call from June. "My mother is dead." His voice was hollow. "What?" "The housekeeper found her this morning. Pills." She left a note. Ada felt a strange mixture of shock and sadness. "June, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. You have nothing to be sorry for." He paused. "The funeral is Saturday. I don't expect you to come, but Ara might want closure. It's up to you." After hanging up, Ada told Ara. Her daughter was quiet for a long time. "Then I want to go, Mama, not for her, for me." The funeral was small. Mrs. Kang's society friends were conspicuously absent. Just June, Mr. Kang, a few distant relatives, and household staff. And Ada with Ara and Jae Sung. June looked surprised when they arrived. "Thank you for coming." "We came for Ara," Ada said gently. "And I'm sorry for your loss, June. Whatever she did, she was still your mother." The service was quiet, traditional. As they carried the casket out, June broke down completely, sobbing. Ara walked up to him and took his hand. "It's okay to be sad, Father. Even when people hurt us, we can still miss them." June knelt and hugged her. "You're so wise, Princess. So wise." After the service, Mr. Kang approached Ada. "I owe you an apology for everything. I enabled my wife's cruelty." "You did," Ada said honestly. "But you're trying now. That's what matters. May I? May I occasionally see Ara as her grandfather?" Ada looked at Ara, who nodded. "Supervised visits once a month. If you prove you can be kind." "Thank you," Mr. Kang said quietly. As they left the funeral, Ara asked, "Mama, what did grandmother's note say?" June, overhearing, spoke up. She said she was sorry. That pride destroyed everything she loved and that she hoped I'd find happiness, even though she couldn't. He looked at Ada. She was wrong about everything. But in the end, she finally understood that. 1 year later, Ada stood in her bridal suite, staring at her reflection. Her wedding dress was stunning, white with hanbok print accents, honoring both her cultures. Sujin bustled in, already dressed as maid of honor. "You look absolutely beautiful." Ara appeared in her flower girl dress, grinning. "Mama, you're glowing. I'm happy, baby. Really, truly happy." At the church, Jae-sung waited at the altar, his eyes tearing up as Ada walked down the aisle. The pastor smiled. "We're here to join these two people in marriage." "I do," Jae-sung said, his voice strong. "I do," Ada echoed, tears streaming. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." As they kissed, the congregation erupted in cheers. Sujin and Minsu now married themselves, threw flower petals. Ara jumped up and down with joy. In the back of the church, June sat quietly. He'd been invited, a gesture of grace from Ada. He watched his daughter celebrate and watched Ada, radiant with happiness. And for the first time in a year, he smiled. A sad smile, but genuine. She deserved this. They both did. He slipped out before the reception, leaving a gift, a trust fund for Ara's university, and a letter apologizing one more time. That night, they stood so close that the air between them seemed to hum. The laughter from the evening had quieted, replaced by a stillness that carried its own language. He looked into her eyes, not hurried, not hungry, but with a kind of wonder, as though seeing her for the first time, and yet recognizing her soul from 1,000 lifetimes before. His hand rose gently to her cheek, his thumb tracing the soft curve of her face. She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, her breath catching just slightly. Then, slowly, their foreheads met. A pause, a shared heartbeat, before his lips found hers. The kiss began softly, almost like a question. Then it deepened, not with urgency, but with meaning. Every touch spoke of promises, of gratitude, of the journey that had led them here. Her fingers brushed his collar. His hand slid to her waist, drawing her closer until the world beyond disappeared. It was more than a kiss. It was a vow made in silence, the seal of everything they had said before the altar, now spoken through the quiet rhythm of two hearts finally at peace. 2 years later, Ada stood in her bathroom, staring at the pregnancy test. "Positive," she called. Jae-sung rushed in. "What's wrong?" She held up the test, crying and laughing. "We're pregnant." He lifted her, spinning carefully. "We're having a baby." Ara rushed in. "Really? I'm going to be a big sister." "You are, baby." The pregnancy was beautiful. Jae-sung pampered Ada constantly. He would feed her fruits and make sure she took her vitamins. It was the best moment of Ada's life. Ara helped pick out baby clothes. The whole family was involved. 9 months later, in a hospital room, Ada gave birth. "It's twins," the doctor announced. 2 boys. Ada laughed through her tears. Of course it is. Double the blessing. Jae-sung cut the umbilical cords, tears streaming down his face. They're perfect. You're perfect. Ara held her baby brothers carefully. Hi, I'm your big sister. I'm going to teach you everything. 5 years later, Ara, now 16, sat in a coffee shop across from June. They had maintained a relationship over the years. Not father-daughter in the traditional sense, but something gentler, honest. How's school? June asked. Good. I'm thinking about law school, like Jae-sung. That's wonderful, June smiled. Your mother must be proud. She is. We all are. Ara paused. How are you, really? June considered. Better. Therapy helps. The company is stable. I'm even dating someone, a kind woman who doesn't expect me to be perfect. I'm glad. Ara, I want you to know something. June's voice was serious. I made terrible mistakes. I hurt your mother. I hurt you. I let my mother's poison infect everything. I know, but I'm grateful you still see me. That you forgave me enough to let me be in your life, even a little. Ara smiled. Mama says forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to let the past control your future. Your mama is very wise. She is. Ara stood to leave. I need to get home. We're having a family dinner. Give them my best. As Ara walked out to where Jae-sung waited in the car, June watched through the window. She had a family. A real family. Brothers she cherished. A stepfather who appeared. A mother who persevered. And him. He found serenity. Not bliss, not the kinship he had foregone, but tranquility. Certain errors are beyond repair, yet one can still opt for improvement. And ultimately, that sufficed. We appreciate your viewership. Please subscribe to K Love Stories for additional compelling narratives centered around affection, atonement, and the bonds we cultivate. Sometimes the family you originate from shatters you, yet the family you select restores you. Kang, do you wish to respond to these accusations? Mrs. Kang rose, her voice frigid. This is a mother safeguarding her family from... Barrister Park interrupted. From a woman who cherished your son and gave you a grandchild. From what precisely were you protecting them? Mrs. Kang's lawyer urgently whispered to her, and she resumed her seat, her lips pressed into a thin line. Your Honor, Barrister Park continued, I must also address the prior ruling, which granted custody to Mrs. Kang. He presented additional documents. These are bank statements belonging to Judge Moon, who presided over the initial hearing. The courtroom fell completely silent. On the day preceding her favorable ruling for Mrs. Kang, Judge Moon received a wire transfer of $50 million from a Kang family shell company. Judge Moon, seated in the gallery, abruptly rose. Judge Moon. Judge Kim's voice was sharp. Please remain seated. Bailiff, ensure Judge Moon does not depart the courtroom. 2 officers moved to obstruct the exits. Your Honor, this is an outrage, Mrs. Kang's lawyer exclaimed, rising to his feet. You cannot apprehend a sitting judge based on documented evidence of bribery. Judge Kim's voice was frigid. Observe me. Judge Moon, you will be detained pending investigation. As Judge Moon was escorted out in handcuffs, the courtroom erupted in pandemonium. Reporters scrambled to exit and file their stories. The gallery buzzed with shocked conversations. Mrs. Kang sat immobile, her meticulously constructed world crumbling around her. Mr. Kang gazed at his wife with a mixture of disgust and horror. What have you done? He whispered. I did what was necessary, she hissed in return. For our family, for our name. No, Mr. Kang stated quietly. For your pride. Only your pride. Judge Kim restored order. Mr. Kang Ji-hyun, you testified against Miss Okonkwo in the preceding hearing. Do you uphold that testimony? Ji-hyun slowly rose. He appeared exhausted, utterly depleted. "No, Your Honor, I do not." Ara's breath hitched. "I perjured myself," Ji-hyun continued, his voice. "I was coerced by my mother to testify against Miss Okonkwo." "Coerced how?" Judge Kim inquired. Ji-hyun, with trembling hands, retrieved his phone. "I recorded our conversations. I needed proof of her actions." He played an audio recording. Mrs. Kang's voice resonated through the courtroom. "Testify against that woman, or you will never see Ara again. I will ensure she believes you abandoned her. I will decimate any relationship you could ever establish with your daughter." The courtroom was utterly silent. Another recording played. "I hired someone to make her life miserable in Manchester, created perfect evidence of instability. She made it so easy." Yet another. "Judge Moon will rule in our favor. I have ensured it." Ji-hyun's hands trembled as he stopped the recordings. "I possess 47 more months of my mother admitting to bribery, sabotage, and conspiracy." He finally looked at Ara. "I am sorry. I was weak. I believed obeying her would somehow keep Ara safe. But I was mistaken. I have been mistaken about everything." His voice faltered. "I destroyed the woman I loved and harmed my daughter because I was too cowardly to confront my mother, and I will regret that for the remainder of my life." Ara stared at him, a conflict of emotions on her face: anger, pity, understanding. Ji-hyun turned back to the judge. "Your Honor, I am prepared to testify to everything. My mother's transgressions, the bribes, the sabotage, all of it." Mrs. Kang sprang to her feet. "You ungrateful." "Sit down, Mrs. Kang," Judge Kim stated sharply. "You will have your opportunity to respond." "Your Honor," Barrister Park gently interjected, "I would like to call Ara to the stand." Mrs. Kang's lawyer immediately objected. "She is a minor. This is inappropriate." "She is the subject of this custody dispute," Judge Kim stated firmly. "She has every right to be heard. Ara, would you like to speak?" Ara nodded, walking toward the witness stand with surprising composure. Barrister Park knelt to her level. "Ara, I know this is frightening, but I need you to tell the judge the truth. How has life been at your grandmother's house?" Ara's voice was small but clear. "Scary. Can you tell us why?" "Grandmother says my mother doesn't love me, that she's with another man now and forgot about me." Tears welled in Ara's eyes. "She says I have to forget I'm Nigerian, that it's shameful, that I should be grateful she's fixing me. Fixing you, making me properly Korean. She says my mother ruined me." Ara covered her mouth, suppressing a sob. "Did your grandmother ever hurt you?" Barrister Park asked gently. "She locked me in my room when I tried to call Mama. She took away my Nigerian clothes, the ones Mama made for me. She said they were ugly." Ara reached into her pocket and produced a small recording device. "But I recorded her, like Father did, because Mama always says the truth matters." She pressed play. Mrs. Kang's voice, cold and cruel, filled the air. "You're not genuinely Korean, you know. You're tainted, but we can rectify that if you forget that woman and her backward culture." Another clip. "If you do not begin to behave appropriately, I will ensure your mother is deported. You will never see her again. Is that what you desire?" The courtroom was silent, save for the sound of Ara's crying. Ara looked directly at her grandmother. "You are a mean person, and I no longer wish to live with mean people." Judge Kim paused for a long moment, reviewing documents. Then she looked up. "I have heard sufficient evidence. This is the most disturbing custody case I have ever presided over. Mrs. Kang, you systematically destroyed a woman's life to maintain control. You bribed a judge. You manipulated your own son, and you emotionally abused your granddaughter. Mrs. Kang's face remained impassive. Miss Okonkwo, I am granting you full permanent custody of Ara, effective immediately. Ara collapsed into Barrister Park's arms, sobbing with relief. Furthermore, Judge Kim continued, I am ordering supervised visitation for Mrs. Kang, 2 hours per week if she is released on bail, and I am referring this case to the prosecutor's office for criminal charges. Ara ran from the witness stand into her mother's arms. Mama, Mama. They clung to each other, both weeping, finally reunited. The courtroom erupted in applause. Mrs. Kang sat frozen, her empire crumbling around her. Ji-hyun buried his face in his hands. As the courtroom began to clear, Barrister Park remained standing. Your Honor, if I may have one more moment. Judge Kim smiled. Counselor. Barrister Park turned to Ara and knelt down right there in the courtroom. Ara Okonkwo, I have witnessed you fight for your daughter with more courage than I have ever seen. You are the strongest, most compassionate woman I have ever known. He produced a ring. I know this is sudden. I know we have only known each other for a few months, but I also know that I wish to spend the remainder of my life supporting you, loving you, and being a father to Ara. Will you marry me? A hush fell over the courtroom. Ara tugged her mother's hand. Say yes, Mama, he's kind. Ara looked at this man who had championed her, who had believed in her, who had restored her faith in love. Yes, she whispered. Yes. The courtroom erupted once more. Even Judge Kim was smiling. Sujin, observing from the gallery, cheered loudly. Only the Kong family remained in shocked silence. Mrs. Kang's face was contorted with rage. Ji-hyun stared at the scene, tears streaming down his face. She had found love again, and he had lost everything. 6 months later, life had settled into a new rhythm. Ara, Barrister Park Jang, as Ara now called him. And Ara moved into a beautiful apartment overlooking the Han River. Ara flourished. She regained weight, her skin glowed once more, and she laughed constantly, her cheerful sounds filling their home with joy. Jang and Ara discovered a shared passion for cooking. Every Saturday, they would prepare breakfast together, sometimes Korean pancakes, sometimes Nigerian akara, always accompanied by music and laughter. Chung, Ara said one morning, flipping pancakes. Can I call you Dad? Jang's eyes filled with tears. I would be honored, Princess. Ara watched them from the doorway, her heart full. This was family, a true family. However, not everything was perfect. One evening, a knock came at the door. Ara opened it to find Ji-hyun standing there, looking gaunt and exhausted. What do you want? Her voice was guarded. To apologize to Ara and to you. His voice was hoarse. Please, just 5 minutes. Ara scrutinized him. He appeared broken. Genuinely broken. Please wait a moment. She came back with Ara, who observed her biological father with perplexity. Hello, Princess, June said as he knelt. I came to apologize for everything. Why did you lie about Mama? Ara asked softly. Because I was afraid of my mother, and I believed that obeying her was the same as protecting you. But I was wrong. His voice cracked. So incredibly wrong. Grandmother was mean to me, Ara stated. I know, and I'm sorry I didn't stop her sooner. I'm sorry for all of it. He produced an envelope. I wrote you a letter for your wedding day. Someday when you're older, I hope you'll read it and understand that I loved you even when I did everything wrong. Ada carefully took the envelope. June then looked at Ada. I heard you're getting married. Congratulations. He's a good man, better than me. June quickly added, I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I understand now. What I destroyed, what I lost. He took a shaky breath. I'm in therapy, trying to be better. Not for you, just to be better. Ada felt a surge of compassion despite everything. June, I hope you find peace. I truly do. But I've moved on. I have a family now, a real family. I know. He smiled sadly. That's all I ever wanted for Ara, to have what I couldn't give her. A father who shows up. He stood and looked at Ara one last time. Be happy, princess. That's all I ever wanted. Ada closed the door and pulled Ara into a hug. Are you okay, baby? I think so, Ara said quietly. I feel sad for him, but I'm happy with us. Me too, my love. Me too. At the Kang mansion, silence prevailed. Ms. Kang had been released on bail pending trial, but she seldom left her room. The scandal had shattered her reputation. Former friends avoided her. The media camped outside her gate. June barely spoke to her. He had moved to a hotel, unable to look at her without seeing the cost of her actions. Mr. Kang had filed for divorce. She was completely isolated. One morning, the housekeeper found her seated at her dressing table, gazing at old photographs. Pictures of June as a baby. Photos from family gatherings. Madam, you haven't eaten in 2 days. Please have some soup. Leave me alone, Mrs. Kang whispered. The housekeeper departed, worried. That evening, Mrs. Kang finally emerged from her room. She looked frail, aged a decade in months. She went to June's old room and sat on his bed. Memories flooded back, teaching him to write his name, helping him study, watching him graduate. She had believed she was protecting him, building his future, ensuring his success. Instead, she had ruined him. She took out stationery and began to write. Sujin visited Ada's apartment with her fiancé Min-soo, one of Jae-sung's law partners. Thank you for inviting us, Sujin said warmly, embracing Ada. Over tea, Sujin shared her story. After my engagement to June ended, I was devastated. I thought I had failed, but then Jae-sung introduced me to Min-soo at a firm dinner. She smiled at her fiancé,